whether or not we know it's the Father's will, we try to take control. Check this out. In verse 51, the guards were coming to take Jesus away, right? They did the prayer in Gethsemane. The guards are coming to take Jesus away. And Peter, being Peter, loving the Lord, pulls out his sword and cuts off one of the ears of the guards. Jesus says no. Jesus says no. Because Jesus just prayed. He just prayed 3 times. Jesus prayed 3 times and he said, Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Not as I will, but as you will. And so when the time came, Peter wanted to fight. Peter's flesh came out. And I kind of wrote it somewhere. And basically, like, during certain times, verse 41, watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Jesus said that after he said, Father, not as I will, but as you will. So after he said that, he said, the spirit indeed is willing, and the flesh is weak. Jesus comes to get taken away. Peter pulls out a sword. Immediately his flesh comes out. Jesus says, no. Do you not think that I can appeal to my Father? Verse 53, do you not think that I can appeal to my Father? And more than 12 legions of angels will come. Then in 54, verse 54, this is the as you will part. But how then should the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be so? I kind of wrote down, if we are to follow in God's will, we can't be like Peter and fight our way out of situations. We often pray, Father, let your will be done. But when his will looks like suffering, we're so quick to pull out a sword. We're so quick, and stay with me, we're so quick to run and pray and say, God, remove me from this. God, help me out of this. This is what you prayed for. Our flesh wants to come out so much during times when we're in the Father's will. And so praying to the Father isn't a bad thing. We ought to always pray and not lose heart, Luke 18. But when that prayer looks like running from the will of God, just as Jesus said, do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father? Jesus could have prayed or he, being God himself, got himself out of that situation. But he said, Father, no, not as I will, but as you will. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Our flesh would not align with God's will, and it will come out heavy during times of being in God's will. It gets restless, and it comes out as swords fighting everything in our path, or we try to take control. We try to say, no, God, not this way. I want your will, but how about we combine? No, this isn't a joint project. This is not a joint project. We are God's craft, and he gets to say in how he molds us and where he takes us and where he puts us and how he uses us. This isn't a collaboration. Yes, we speak and we pray with God. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when the sun goes down, when the cup passes, it's not as I will, but as you will, Lord. Right? And our flesh, right? We're going back. Our flesh is going to tell us it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. That's what our flesh is going to say. It's weak. It breaks down during times of heaviness. And we can't be broken down because the Spirit is building us up. And so we have to remain in the Spirit. We have to sow in the Spirit. And check this out. In verse 63, when the Lord's will, this is how we can combat our flesh. Don't speak. Don't speak. Don't say nothing. Don't do anything. Let's follow Jesus here. So Jesus has been taken up. Peter tried to fight. Jesus said no. He didn't appeal to his Father. He said, how then should the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be so? Jesus, and you know what Jesus did? Verse 62, verse 26, 62. And the high priest stood up and said, have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you? Verse 63. This is being in the Lord's will, being in God's will. Verse 63. But Jesus remained silent. And the high priest said to him, oh, I adjure you to the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of Man. He answered that. But before, Jesus remained silent. May we be able to follow that thing, because if we don't, who knows what we'll say and what those words will lead us to do if it's out of the Lord's will because we don't like the situation that we are in. And I love this kind of picture here of how it obviously connects in Jesus saying, watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Being watchful and praying and being on the lookout of temptation. As men, we always have to be worrisome that temptation can come at any moment. And temptation is a big thing, especially when we're walking in the path of God's will, because of the flesh being so weak and because of temptations coming any and everywhere. If the temptation is there to pull out that sword as Peter did and fight our way out of certain situations, then we'll end up doing that. Or we'll fret and complain and moan and groan instead of remaining silent. In Exodus 14:14, Moses said, God said to Moses, or Moses said to the Israelites, chain of command. Moses said to the Israelites from God, be silent, the Lord will fight for you. Because when we start to speak, is it spirit filled? Or is it complaining? Is it worrisome that this thing won't pass? This too shall pass. It just doesn't feel good in the moment. Not as I will, but Lord, as you will. That's giving up control too. Are we able to be humble enough to say, Lord, my hands are off of this? Again, this is not a joint project. This is, God, you're in full control. I can't say, that's what's so good to remain silent. Because we can give suggestions at Any moment. Hey, Lord, what about this? No, no. Have you considered? No. Don't speak. Unless it's, Lord, I surrender, or anything scripture based, or anything like that. That's okay, but anything that tries to make some collaboration with the Lord in the way that He is leading and guiding our lives. And I make that mistake so much, praying for God's will, and when it comes, oh, my anxiety goes crazy. And I'm like, oh, Lord, what about this? What about that? How about, can we make this work? Like, can we shift this around a little bit? I know that this may have to go. I know that this may have to be so for a little while, right? We may suffer for a little while. But what about if we also did this during? No! I can't say anything. I can't do anything. It's giving up full control. Not as I will. Anything that I say is anything that I will. And it's not as I will, it's Lord, as you will. Right? Is that to be so? And our faith during it all, I will end it off on this. Faith isn't about knowing, but about trusting, no matter what it looks like. We have full faith in Jesus, we all claim to do, or we all claim to have, but what does that faith actually look like when we're in God's will? Does that faith say, Lord, I trust you, and not as I will, but as you will? Does that faith say that? Does our faith say, Lord, I'm going to be silent during this time. I'm not going to pull out my sword as Peter did and find my way out of this? Jesus was able to pray to the Father and immediately pull himself out of the situation. But he prayed that prayer, and guess what? He obeyed. As men, we also have to be a keeper of our word. Okay, Lord, you say, Lord, I say I'm going to do this, or Lord, I'm going to follow in your will. After whatever the Lord does, I can't do nothing. It may be heavy, but remain in the Spirit during God's will. Watch and pray that you may not enter